And we are live. Welcome, soul family, to High Vibrational Events Presents Conversations with C, where we have inspired chats with spiritual thought leaders from around our world and beyond. Oh, I hear feedback. One moment. That is from YouTube. Sorry about that. Anyway, my amazing guest today is Andrew Codling. Andrew is a gifted trance medium and a world renowned spiritual teacher. Today, we'll be in conversation with Andrew and his amazing spirit guides. There will be plenty of time for questions to stop Alexa from talking. That's amazing. There'll be plenty of time for questions for both Andrew and his guides. Will you please join me in welcoming Andrew Codling?
Hey, thank you so much, C, for inviting me to kind of speak with you and whoever's going to join us this evening or wherever you're listening to it from or watching from. Thank you. It's a great honor. Really appreciate it.
I'm so glad you're here. Hi, Malata. Oh, hi. First of all, hi, Kimmy, and thank you. Kimmy is co-hosting and moderating the comments from there, and I really am grateful for that. So thank you so much. And Malata, so great to see you. Now, Malata is one of your students, right?
Well, I haven't worked with Malada in a student capacity, but I have worked with her in kind of trance dems when we've been doing stuff. Yeah, but I do know Malada. Great trance medium too.
Oh, she's amazing. She's my next guest, I believe. I have to look at my calendar, but I think she'll be here in 2 weeks. I'm so excited. Oh my God.
Good. That's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So while everybody is coming in, and there's Chris Lippincott. Hi, Meagan. Hello. Welcome, Chris. Welcome. So glad you're here.
Hi, Chris.
So I'm so excited. So while people are coming in, and it's going to take a few minutes for everybody to get there. Do you want to? Hello, Claire Maria. How are you? Do you want to tell us a bit about you? Maybe how you got started?
Oh, now there's a story. Okay, are we kind of talking how I got started on the spiritual journey, mediumistic, or just trance?
Wherever you feel drawn, whatever you feel is the most interesting story, and you feel drawn to tell it right now.
Well, it is quite interesting. It is from my point of view. So, I'm a skeptical person by nature, or at least I was until a number of years ago. So, if you had have said to me maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, mediumship is a thing, we can communicate with people that passed on. Frankly, I would have laughed. And I probably wouldn't have been your biggest fan. Now, so I guess Spirit really knew that when they were kind of thinking, how are we going to get hold of Andy? How are we going to change his mindset? Hi, Kim. And so when was it? About roughly 10 years ago. It was kind of coming up to summertime, and it was like mid-morning in the sense of like maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was woken up, and there at the side of my bed was my grandfather, who had been passed about 15 to 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So you can imagine my next question is, what are you doing here? And he never said anything. Hi, Debbie. He never said anything to me. And I hugged him, and I felt the bristles of his face against my skin.
Oh, wow.
And I felt a love like you cannot even begin to describe. It was the closest thing to unconditional love that I think I'd ever felt up to that point. And that kind of left me speechless. I can remember it as vividly now as, when it actually happened. So that kind of got me onto a path of saying, what just happened? What was that? How do I even begin to rationalize seeing, feeling, and experiencing his physical presence, yet he had been passed to spirit, maybe 15, 20 years. So
you felt his whiskers.
Yeah, I felt the whiskers, like slight, where the stubble on his face.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, I felt them against my cheek. It was as clearly, I remember it now as it happened, when it happened. So I'm kind of, my next sort of thought is, what do we do about it? And my aunt does spiritual healing. And she happened to mention that there was like a one-day workshop going on at one of these places that she did the healing. And I said, could I come along? You know, not because I wanted to do healing. I was just nosy. She said, there's this workshop where it's an introduction to mediumship. And I kind of wanted to go along and, you know, is there something to this? And lo and behold, you go along, they start talking about chakras, and I'm thinking, what's a chakra? What does that even mean? And we start to do these exercises for complete beginners. And I'm not one of those people whereby, you know, I say, oh, I saw spirit from a young age, you know, my grandmother at the bottom of the bed or something. That isn't, you know, this was 30 odd years into my life. And then I experienced that for the first time. So that's kind of where it started. I don't want to kind of go on too much unless you know.
So that's very inspiring, Andrew. Sorry, I'm calling you Chris. I don't know why. Andrew, so because you're saying you didn't see spirit from a young age. This happened just like like how many years ago that your grandfather showed up? And
I'd say it was probably no more than 10 years ago.
So within the past 10 years. That's interesting. That seems to be I mean, everybody's on their own type of journey, but that seems to be like the energy must have shifted in the last 10 years. My gifts opened up with about 8 years ago. I didn't know. Right. I didn't know I was even psychic, honestly. So I just thought I was too sensitive. But we all have a story. But yours is really interesting because I've never heard of anyone like hugging and feeling the bristles and all that.
Yeah.
You do physical mediumship as well, though, don't you? Or do you?
Well, yeah. So I think with the benefit of hindsight, with stuff that happened going forward from that point, looking back, I can kind of see why it happened in that way, because that's the way that my spirit team, which is something that we'll speak about later, I think, kind of my spirit team wanted to give me something that was really going to stop me in my tracks and make me question, make me think. And one of the aspects that they want me to develop at their request is to sit for the development of physical mediumship. Now, the reason I say that is that one of the aspects that spirit can make themselves known is to physically materialize so that you can touch them, hold their hand, feel them, and they will feel warm and solid like they always did. Now, that is very, very rare, and I'm not saying that is something that I can do at the minute. But I think my understanding is that is the path that my team have kind of got me to consider. And I guess only time will tell. See, you know, who knows? Who knows where this path is going to go? But to feel your loved one, if that can make that difference to me as a skeptical type of person, then for someone that kind of believes, can you imagine what they can do? You know, I just think it would be amazing.
Life-changing. Oh my God.
Indeed. For both sides. Yeah, I really do.
Do you feel drawn to answer a question? Sandy's asking, do you believe that physical mediumship can be accomplished via Zoom?
Sandy, that's a really good question. And I wanted to try it. But I did speak to, I spoke to a great British physical medium called Stuart Alexander. And I put that question to him because I have actually sat in one of his seances and seen trumpet phenomena and ectoplasm being used in the room. I wanted to try it. He's firmly of the opinion that it can't be developed. And, you know, another good friend of mine whose opinion I do trust, you know, they were of the same opinion. So as much as I want to kind of say, look, I wonder what's possible, my gut feeling is it's not something that's likely to happen in the same way that in my room. Obviously, this is just the kind of virtual background, but next to me here where I'm touching is a seance cabinet. Now, I have my father, my mother, and my wife, and a friend. They all sit for me in person kind of once a week, and we sit for the purpose of me developing physical mediumship, wherever that may go. So I think, to be honest, if you're going to do it in person. You know, sit with spirit, share that love, have a cup of tea and some cake afterwards and enjoy it. So, you know, that is my preference. But obviously, COVID kind of threw a massive spanner in the works, and suddenly my cabinet was gathering dust.
Mm.
There we go. That's where we're at.
It is. It is interesting. I agree, Erica. And I also feel that we're at a new time, a new age.
Yeah.
So I think more, but we'll see. You know what I mean? I feel like some mediums will and some won't, and it'll be interesting to to see and hear and feel, and just as the whole gamut of spirituality unfolds.
Yeah, I agree. So look, I mean, you kind of think about it. 2.5 years ago, prior to COVID, no one had even heard of Zoom. I bet no one had heard of Zoom. If you
I was using it, but I'm just saying. But I think the majority probably right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, for example, obviously, trance is a great passion of mine, but when COVID came along, and it kind of said, well, meeting people in person isn't going to happen. So we kind of, kicking our heels really, and then you kind of hear of this Zoom, and I'm kind of a bit skeptical, and I think, I don't know, is trance really going to translate via Zoom? But I was proved wrong. It really is possible to kind of tune into people, to work with them, to kind of feel that presence of spirit, and to teach and to meet people like yourself. You're in Florida, I believe, aren't you?
I am. Yes, absolutely.
So if Zoom had never have happened for me, I wouldn't even know about you unless I, found you online somehow. So, it's been a wonderful addition to teaching. So, I really do recommend it.
I love it. I love it. I love that we can reach people all over the world, and I can connect with amazing people like you and present you to the world in a way that, like you're saying, would not have been available before. And I just love it. I just think it's the greatest thing ever. Not just Zoom, obviously, but live streaming, StreamYard, the whole ability to connect with people worldwide.
Yeah, I agree.
Judy is saying, thank goodness for Zoom. Andy is a fantastic teacher.
Yeah, Judy's a great student and a friend of mine. So it's she's been very kind there, but she's a great trance medium too. So
I would love to take one of your classes one day. That would be amazing.
Well, there'd always be a space for you.
Thank you. Cindy, the reason why I asked the question was that I transfigured last night via Zoom, and that the person that I was chatting to was a witness to what happened.
Yeah. So, Sandy, I do think it's possible in the sense that obviously when you're transfiguring, that is an aspect of physical mediumship. So yes, it can happen for you in your room, and because you're creating a space for you to work with your spirit friends. So transfiguration would obviously be the sense that we are then seeing through maybe energy plasm or photoplasm or ectoplasm. You are then seeing spirit impress themselves upon your face or over your face so that you see the spirit communicator. So I do think that happens. I do think it can happen. And if that happened for me, I mean, for example, if it happened this evening, there's no reason why it couldn't. Trance and physical mediumship, there is a blurred line, whereby one starts to merge into the other. So we can't, just turn it off and on. But I do think, Sandy, you've got that opportunity to develop, especially if you are, if you're not near loads of other people that can sit for that purpose, then by all means, you have a friend watch you and say, watch me for 10, 15 minutes, half an hour. And can you tell me what happens? See what you see. So yeah, I think, Sandy, it's a great way of working. For the type of stuff that I want to develop, I just think with having a family circle, so that harmony, which is the massive important aspect of it, that harmony is kind of already there. So what you're faced with is, I'm sitting with people that obviously I love because they're my parents and my wife.
Right.
So that all I need to do is trust in my team, and then what happens is kind of up to spirit and the potential that I have within me. So I think it's great. Yeah, so that's a good question, Sandy. I like that.
Excellent. I agree with you, Kim, that Zoom has taken trance to a whole new level. I have to admit, I don't know people in person, that are psychics that are me. Well, that's not true. I met a couple recently, but overall, in the 8 years that I've lived in this area, I don't have people that I can sit with for trance at this yet. But yet, I sit with Debbie Charlton, right? And she's in Ireland, and I've also studied with her, and I've studied with Mark Bedwood in Australia, and and Julie Keetle, who I believe is in Pennsylvania. She's in the U.S. So none of the people that I sit with are in the same state, or not usually in the same state, often not in the same country. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be developing, so I'm obviously I'm all for being online and doing this, but I'm sure must be kind of shocking to people, some people that are like old school, that are like, this can't be a thing. But I love that, go ahead, please. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, so no, you raise a great point. And the fact is, you live in a massive country, so you're faced with geographical barriers, whereas for me, if we did have to meet face to face, yes, it's possible, but I've got to say, in my experience, people aren't willing, certainly over here, to travel much more than about 20 miles to once a week to sit in a circle, and to say, would you sit for me each week, to see what happens for my development. Getting people to drive even that far is a real ask. So, for people to say, can we travel out of state? That's just not going to happen, is it? So Zoom is wonderful. And, you've spoken about several people that, are doing great work to help people with their understanding. So it's the way ahead. I really do think it's the way ahead.
I do too. I love that. Thank you.
No,
let's see. And Kim says, yes, Andy has created a wonderful space for us to spread our wings and trance work.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. Yeah.
Tiffany, what is the fine line between trance and physical mediumship? And I think this will be the last question and then we'll move into, okay, and how preparing for the demo and such. Yeah. But there'll be lots of time for questions again for Andrew after.
Yeah. Okay, so to answer your question, Tiffany, the fine line between trance and physical mediumship, how can you tell the difference? Well, it is a fine line. So the very nature of it is, if we said this is trance and this is physical mediumship, there is an interlap. There is an area whereby, like trance, for example, is mental mediumship. So it's a process of my mind being receptive to the mind or that consciousness of my spirit team. So that's mind to mind and mental. Then we have stuff like maybe transfiguration happens. As I work with my team, you may see like the aspects of their presence over my face. Now, some of that can be overshadowing, which is you seeing it clairvoyantly. Some of it may be physical. So it then means that there is not a solid line. The lines are blurred between physical mediumship and trance. But trance is definitely mental, mediumship. So, you're not a physical medium if you do trance. But physical phenomena can happen if the conditions are right, if you have that potential. Hope that makes sense, Tiffany.
That was a great question and an amazing answer. So thank you for that. So coming up, we have an incredible trance demo with Andrew. Do you want to prepare us for this?
Yeah. Okay. So look, you guys have heard me talk. You know how I talk and how I sound. So when we're talking about trance mediumship, how do you know someone is in trance? Well, there are kind of signs to look out for. Now, I'll speak a little bit about some of those signs, and then I'll kind of work with my guys and you'll see what happens. So, is it essential that I sound different to be in trance? No, it's not. So, I could absolutely have a great connection with my team. And if they do not make me sound different to what I sound now, that does not mean I'm not in trance. You do not have to sound different. So I don't need to close my eyes and go, hello, I'm a big chief and I wish to share this great wisdom. That is not being in trance. That's doing an impression. Okay. So what happens is we're bringing two consciousnesses together, mine and my spirit teams. And what we allow to happen through my energy field, they impress their personality. They impress their spiritual presence, which affects all of my kind of abilities. It affects the way that I speak. It affects maybe the way that I look, because their presence is starting to become my presence. Their energy is starting to become my energy. So you may notice the way I speak is different. You may notice how I sound is different. You may notice facial changes, which could be overshadowing, which is part of that process. And it could be physical. It's unlikely to be physical, but it's still possible. And the way that I speak may be different. I think I just mentioned that. So there are signs to look out for, and kind of, if I was really animated when I'm normally talking, and this is how I talk, if my guide then has a very different demeanor to mine, so let's say they're very thoughtful and very I don't know, just almost quiet and contemplative,
Pensive, yeah.
exactly, and pensive. So you may start to notice that and think, I can see that it's Andrew speaking, but there's an essence of a different energy that is influencing what he says and how he says it. So it will kind of make more sense, when I do it in a short while. So hopefully that very, very brief kind of rundown of what may change, will give people that don't have too much experience with this an idea of what to expect. What do you reckon? What do you reckon, C?
Are you ready?
Good? Okay, so look.
I
Okay.
just want to try one thing. I want to see if I
Yeah,
can.
what do you want to try?
I wanted to see if I could. It's just the opposite of what I wanted to do. I want to make you larger.
Okay.
Let me see if I switch you over there, and then I do that. Yeah, that works.
Well,
All right. Thank you
okay.
for your patience, everybody. And Andrew, okay, yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to ask my spirit team to blend me. So everything's going to go quiet for a little while, maybe a couple of minutes. I'm going to ask them to entrance me and to share their thoughts and their wisdom and whatever they wish to say kind of to the audience. And we will just see where it goes. I'm sure that they'll offer the opportunity to ask questions. So by all means, type a question in, and I'm sure that C will kind of get to that and do what she needs to do. All right, so I'm going to be quiet now. Next person or people that you hear may well, fingers crossed, be my spirit team. Okay. Okay, guys. Now, good evening, my friends.
Good evening.
Good evening. Who would have thought that when I joined the realms of our spirit folk, that there would be this opportunity to speak through the boy to people that I cannot even see? Who would have thought that this opportunity would present itself? But here we are. having a communication to those that have an interest in what we are following as a way of life, as an aspect of mediumship, as a means of communicating with those that are no longer with you. To understand, my friends, that life truly is eternal. There is a great opportunity to further your spiritual understanding by embracing that presence of love from within your heart to those that work with you. This path is many things. It can bring forward aspects of your personality, feelings from within that challenge you. We often approach mediumship with a great degree of skepticism. I would say, my friends, it is right to be skeptical. It is right to question. It is right to ask questions of those that you witness. When you are witnessing, whether it be trance or physical phenomena or clairvoyant messages from loved ones, look for the love within the message. Feel the love from within the words. As you close your eyes, you do not need to see the presence of spirit. You open your heart and you feel the love from spirit. We are not here, my friends, to entertain you, to be a source of amusement. We are here to hopefully touch your hearts, to offer the opportunity to share our thoughts on what a good life is, how to cope with upset and grief, and many, many more questions that may be on your mind. What we do with the boy is sacred. The reason that we work
I
with
didn't
him
catch that. Could you try again?
is that it is a sacred experience. What we do is about sharing the presence of love. It always has been and always should be about the love that is expressed either through words or actions. Think about this when you consider why you do what you do. What we are seeking is to help you with understanding of why you may feel the way that you feel, how to connect with those who have passed on, whatever the purpose of your journey is. You may be a great listener. You may be a great artist. You may be a great writer or philosopher. You may bring forward a physical and tangible proof of survival. But what you must do, my friends, is do it with love. And it will remove any doubts within your mind about the true greatness of this path that we are faced with. Now, my friend, if you wish to share questions, please take the opportunity.
Thank you so kindly. Thank you. The first question we have is from Judy, who asks, can you please, guides, describe in detail what is it like for you to blend with Andrew?
Yeah. Now, it is like finding an excited squirrel running around the garden and trying to capture him and trying to harness that live energy. It is about quieting his mind. He is a nosy child. He wants to know what is happening. He wants to question why. And we say to him, let it just be. Let us embrace you with our love. Let us embrace you with our presence so that you know we are real because you feel us. This presence that we bring, we are many who speak at once. As we come and we connect with a boy, we must make him feel safe. We must make him feel love. We must allow him to know it is okay to trust in us. What we are doing is embracing his spiritual nature, who he really is, not who he thinks he is. Who he is a pilgrim on a journey, seeking answers to what matters to him. And in that manner of speaking, we are the same. We are seeking answers. What are the challenges of living a physical life? What does he embrace and what does he reject? And what can we learn from him as we go through this experience? So our ability to connect to him, my friend, is based upon where his mind is. If he is troubled in his mind and is angry, he does not make a pleasant experience for us, and it is probably wise to sit away. If he has given his mind a chance to find a calm way of being, then he presents us with a canvas where we can paint our words upon his mind. And that is what I would say, my friend, is the experience from our point of view. It is capturing that excitement. It is harnessing it. It is coating it in love and allowing the process to unfold with great love always. I hope that answers the question, my friend.
Amazing answer. Thank you so very much, friend. And we have another question from Sandy, who asks, is the spirit world now adapting to the new technology of the modern world?
Well, the fact that you see me speaking through the boy, my friend, would answer that question for you. But I only jest. My friend, the point of our existence is not just about proving survival. It is showing that we are an eternal being, that we are forever on a journey of learning and understanding. Part of that process, my friend, is about embracing ways of touching your mind with our presence. The world is a very great place, both in distance and opportunity. What we are seeking to do is to allow you to connect to us, for you allow us to connect to you. If that means it is through a development within your own home, then so be it. If it means that we can use technology to connect with you, to create a space with others like you, then why would we not embrace it? What we are not is a static state of being. We are fluid, we are dynamic, we have wishes and dreams and hopes like you do. This journey is one of experimentation. Every time you walk out of your home, it is an experiment. Your journey today is different to your journey tomorrow. What you are faced with is different. And so what we are faced with is different. Time takes many more demands upon you. Your life is different. You are being pulled in many directions, and we have to embrace the opportunity as it presents itself to us. It is trial and error, my friend, and we do the best that we can. I hope it answers your question.
Thank you so much. And we're getting so many great questions. We'll get to as many as we can. I thank you all. The next one, I love this question. Judy asks, what, if anything, are we able to learn from our past lives if we do not try to remember them? Thank you.
Well, you may see that the opportunity to learn is of the opportunity to learn is of the mind in some ways. But listen to your intuition as your soul speaks to you. There are answers that are coming from within you. Not everything is of the mind. The soul and the heart do speak a truth too. What you are doing sometimes is honoring what you already know. It rises to the surface like a bubble, and as the wisdom is released to the atmosphere, you start to think to yourself, I knew that answer. Sometimes we look outside for a reason, and really we have to look within and say, what would I do if the question was asked of me? What we do often is we forget that we are an animal who has to rely on our instincts and our true nature, that we are observing energy, we are reacting to energy, and we are moving with it and against it. Our nature is not to sit still, it is to survive. We have to survive on our wits, on our intuition, on our nature, and allow the answers to come to us. Sometimes you may find that there is a disposition to be attracted to a particular culture, and you do not know why you feel in such a way. But you know that inside you there is a voice calling to you. It almost wants to recognize something that it already knows. And while this boy is born of the England, it does not mean that he is only English. It means that this is the way that he lives his life now. But if we consider that the soul may have had many opportunities to experience life in many ways, are we really truly ever who we think we are? Or are we like a jigsaw with many pieces? And so you cannot point to one part of that jigsaw and say, this is the complete picture. You have to look at it and say, this is part of the picture, but the whole is much greater. And the whole presents to you a wider understanding of who you really are. And as the boy would quite often wish to know, he is more than he seems, but he is less than he knows. We hope it answers your question, my friend. It's a good question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So Erica has two questions. She's asking, is this medium conscious during this? And does he know and remember what happens?
No. Boy, he is not unconscious, my friend.
because he does not need to be.
Mm.
What is happening is the flow of wisdom, of words, of speech, of talk and thoughts and whatever you see. It is happening with his permission. He is aware of words coming from his mouth, but he is not controlling or thinking about what is needing to be said. When he comes back, if you were to question him what the questions put to him were, he will unlikely remember much of what was said. In the moment, it can seem like he is here, but really he is this conveyor belt of words coming from and through the mind. And so that he will have an awareness, my friend, to answer your question. But his recall later will be much less than you might imagine. However, some mediums can go into a state of unconsciousness, and the presence of those that work with them is fully embraced within the experience. But it is not a certainty that it should or indeed would happen. The ability to share the boy is one that is developed over time. As we sit here with him, it is like we're just stroking his head, patting his head and saying, there, good boy. But the receptivity of him is all we need. It is not him doing the talking, it is us impressing upon him. So there is not a need for unconsciousness to be a certainty for the boy to work. It is the main reason that he failed in his early days. He thought that it was right that he should be unconscious. But as we said earlier, it is a learning process for both sides. And I hope I have answered your question for you.
Thank you so much. There's several people, and I spoke to the medium about this prior, but being several people are asking, may I ask you, please, what name do you go by? If you don't go by a name, what do you like to be called?
Okay. Now, there are many who speak through the boy, as you would have been aware. One of the personalities that speaks through him is called Wolf Robe. And he was of the Native American culture. And he works with the boy. But there are many who work with him. You have to understand that it is many voices speak as one. When there is a purpose for the conversation, different people will speak at different times, and you will hear them interchange with the boy. But the people that work with him, some do not wish to be known, and some even he does not know, except to understand and recognize their energy. So that is what we would say to that question, my friend.
Thank you very kindly for answering that. We have another question from Kaz, who asks, why do some trance mediums' voices change when in trance, yet others seem to talk in their own voice? Does this mean that they're not as closely connected with their guides?
Yeah. Well, there is a truth and also an untruth. Now, the boy speaks as he does because he has developed a relationship with us. He is receptive to our influence because he is aware that there are words coming from him, but he does not wish to be part of a controlling process. So you are hearing more of us and less of him, which is the way that it should be. The less that he interferes with us, the more that we influence what is said. However, If those that work with you are of a nature where the voice does not change much, do not see that as a sign that you are not entranced by them. Moreover, you should observe the feeling, the presence of spirit as it is happening. You will know. You will feel spirit. It will tell you the truth that you need to experience. Spirit are with you because you will feel them. It is not about what is heard, it is about what is felt. The truth is experienced not through the mind, but through the heart. And you will feel my words as I say them to you. That I know, my friend.
Thank you. And I think that may answer our next question, but I'll let you answer it from John, who is asking, how do you know when spirit is coming? How do you know when information is coming from spirit?
Well, there is a filter in the mind. Part of what is said comes maybe from the library of words and experiences that the boy has within his mind. We cannot remove it. It is part of who he is. It is like saying there is a library of books with no words in them. It would be no good to go to a library with books with no words. So when we want to have some wisdom, we are sharing our words with him. We are placing words on the page. But there are also words within his mind that influence the experience and what is being said. If you speak to him, it may be that he does not have an opinion that would agree with ours. We are not seeking to agree with him. We are seeking to use the opportunity to work through him. So he may not share our point of view, but he is still willing to share it in the sense that he will speak it. Hopefully that answers your question, John.
That's profound. Thank you for that. We have a question from Thomas. Are we still okay on time for another couple of questions? Okay, thank you kindly. Thomas asks, what is the best way to allow spirit to speak through a medium?
Well, it is quite easy. If you want spirit to speak, my friend, then you need to open your mouth and start the dialogue. So we can talk about apples and bananas and oranges and pears. As you are speaking, my friend, we have the opportunity to piggyback. We start to divert you from apples and oranges and bananas to speaking about the spiritual truth or the matter that is important to us. Many people think that there is like a magical button that we come along and we go, boop, let us press this button and the boy is away with the fairies. And maybe he is. But it is not the truth. People think that we are going to come along and we are going to remove you from the process. Maybe you are one of those mediums that we do need to do that too. But do not seek it as a way of connecting. Do not devolve the responsibility to us because we're in it together. We are having a spiritual hug. There is you and me. Let us speak together. Let us speak as friends. Be happy, be proud. Love the fact that you can give us your voice. And as we are speaking, then there is this opportunity for us to come along and just nudge you out of the way a little. As we are doing this, then you notice that more of us is coming into this experience. You notice that it is not the medium speaking as much as it was. Do not allow yourself to be silent because you are afraid. And do not be afraid to say something. It does not matter who is on the other side waiting to speak through you. It could be the greatest of philosophers that history has ever shown you. And yet, my friend, they will be silent until you offer us your voice. We are silent without you. We need to share your voice. We need you to speak through us, with us. And when the opportunity ends, we sit back, we relax, and we give you back your full consciousness. My friend, never be afraid of trying and even failing. But please try. Do it. Embrace it. Get the presence of those that work with you to occupy that most wonderful space within you, that is within your heart. This is not about the mind as much as you think it is. This is about opening your heart, trusting in us, connecting to the presence of the most divine love that you can possibly imagine, and surrender. I hope it answers the question, please, my friend.
Wow, it answered. I think it answered Thomas's question. I know it answered the questions in my head and my heart. Thank you so much for that. We do have another question from Triva asking, besides allowing, what is the best tool for providing a strong connection for trance mediumship?
Well, we have covered it a number of times, my friend, but I will say it once more. Approach what you do with love. Do this because you love it. Connect to those that work with you, with love pouring from you, and demand, and I repeat that, you demand unconditional love from those that wish to work with you. You do not just connect to the spirit world, because let me tell you, it is not all roses and angels. Every type of person you can imagine inhabits the spirit world. So you do not send out an open invitation and say, "Dear Spirit, please come into my loving space." You write on your invitation, "Dear Spirit, if you are motivated by unconditional love, then I welcome you into my heart, and I want to feel that love from you." You demand it, you insist upon it, and you give the same to us. The truth of who we are is felt. I have said this already. So, do what you do with love. Connect to love. Do it because you love it. Do you see the theme? Love makes the world go round, and it also connects me to you. This is not just a connection of the mind, it is a connection of the heart. I hope it answers the question, my friend.
Thank you so profoundly. I believe you've answered everyone's questions, even the ones that were not directly asked. I believe that's all the questions we have for you at this time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
No. My friend, we get animated when we speak. It is because we care about what we do. There are many people within the spirit realms that have a message. There is much grief and yet much love. Realize the importance of what you are doing. Understand the great service that you give us. Do not see us as a spirit guide that is wagging our finger at you. We are sitting in reverence that there are people like you wishing to make people's lives better. When grief strikes, it strikes in two places. It strikes in the person that has been lost and those that are left behind. Do not think that grief only affects those that are left behind. What we seek you to do is to come at this opportunity with a loving presence within your mind. Seek the holy and sacred nature of what it is. And may that be your guiding light as you walk the journey. As we give the boy back to you,
Thank you so much.
see the opportunities that are presented. Discern them by feeling the presence of love within the intention. If that loving presence is not there, it is telling you something. Do not allow your intuitive nature to give over to what the mind wants. The soul speaks, and yet the mind demands. Allow love to be your guiding light, my friend, and we will return the boy now.
Wow. I'm so honored. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you. Just take a drink of water, excuse
Take
me.
your time. I think I drank all my water. That was amazing, Andrew. Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
Well, hopefully it made sense.
Oh my gosh. You'll see in the comments later. Oh my goodness. I mean, how your guides were not only answering the questions that were asked, but they were answering the questions that weren't asked that were in the comments. And even one for me that I didn't ask either. It was just amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, they're quite clever like that. Sometimes they will answer questions before you ask them.
It was brilliant. You're an amazing trance medium. Oh my God, I knew that, but still, I'm just so honored. Everybody's so excited. So, do you need to get more water or anything, or do you want to take some questions about trance medium?
Let's talk about whatever.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's drop your questions in the chat for Andrew. Would you excuse me for just 1 second while I grab some more water?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Right back with you guys. Okay, 2 seconds. No, not dinner time yet, Dr. Voorhees. Love it. Dante, yes, absolutely awesome. So beautiful and amazing. Thank you so very much. Just fantastic. This is true. It's absolutely incredible.
Okay. Lisa said that. Sorry. Yeah, Lisa Clee. Andrew, how do you feel after trance channeling? I feel great. I don't feel tired. I feel uplifted. I feel invigorated. I feel excited. But this is it. Look, connecting to spirit, connecting to my guides is a wonderful opportunity for me. I love it. Yes, I feel great. So Elizabeth Gates has said, I could definitely hear the difference in your guides' voices. Yeah, because they have a different personality. It's like saying, imagine that C was my guide. And so I'm in this state of receptivity, and then I speak as I do now, and then this feminine voice comes through, and you are going to notice like part of Andy's voice and part of C's voice coming through, and you can notice, you still know that there's a male voice, but you see aspects of, or you hear aspects of the female voice coming through, and that's just the same. That is exactly how it works. So Elizabeth, that's great. Yeah, sorry.
We have a lot of questions and comments, but I want to Kaz wants to know, how long did it take you to train up for speaking?
Well, in the first time I kind of ever sat, Kaz, is it was just the weekly circle, and you would get like 15 minutes in a cabinet. But I probably for about 6 months, I just couldn't get over the fear of speaking. That's the honest truth. So I sat for about 6 months and just couldn't get over it. It was just terrifying, the thought of speaking, because I didn't understand how it worked. I thought they would come along, knock me out, speak for me, and then bring me back. That is honestly how I thought it worked, because I didn't understand. So I think once I ended up getting so frustrated that I just ended up saying hello, nice to meet you, or something like that. And then once I did that, I then felt the guide like urging me. It felt like there were words in my throat that needed to come out. So I reckon it took me 6 months to actually say any word at all. But in the classes that that I run, that we'll speak about later, in those classes, we have like 6 3-hour sessions, and no one has failed to speak yet in any of those sessions. So so the point is, if I give you the right understanding, and if I encourage you, and if I give you those tools to understand how it works, then I remove a lot of the fear and a lot of the misunderstanding. So I hope that answers your question there, Kaz. That's a good question.
And it answered my question too. Thank you. That's when your guides addressed speaking too, and where they were talking about how it's not just for us, it's for them. And you could just watch the replay. I'm not even going to try to recap it. The whole thing was just so amazing. And then just to speak.
Yeah.
Just speak, because that's on it, because I'm a developing trance medium myself. And that's been my thing. And I thought I was alone in this like fear, this kind of programming. Like, what if I say something? It doesn't make sense,
Yeah. But what if you don't say anything at all? Yeah. There's the great shame. You're obviously a great communicator by virtue of what you're doing.
Thank you.
So what Spirit have got is they've got this opportunity where we've got a communicator. And all we need to do is to get C in the right frame of mind with the right understanding. And what you're going to do is you're just going to open a lot more doors to your mediumship in general, because there's not going to be that fear aspect, because you're going to think to yourself, I know how it works. I know what I need to do to get started. I know how to recognize their presence by feeling their energy and their love. And if you don't feel the love, you don't connect to it. And then when you feel this urge, like, you've got a furball and you just need to get this word out, even if it's just one word, that is something for Spirit to grab onto. And maybe they replace that with another word. And then we start to have like a snowball effect. And suddenly one word every so often becomes a great sentence, and you're just talking away and you don't even think about how it happens.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I was so into my question there. I have lost track of my other questions. Hang on a minute. Susan Morris. Oh, hello. Welcome from Ireland. Yes, you did miss something amazing. You're going to have to watch back. Oh my gosh. She's an incredible Ireland from Medium. Yeah. Medium from Ireland.
Or Medium from Ireland. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So there's some other comments. So from Trevor, Andrew, thank you so much for providing this extraordinary avenue for messages and love. Now, look, Trevor, thank you, for asking your question, because I think you did ask a question. That name rings a bell. Yeah, so look, I mean, it is what it is. Oh, bless her. Yeah, Tiffany. So, yeah, Tiffany's a lady from Canada that I also work with. Great job, Teach. I'm in tears, mind blown, with a whole new perspective on things. Well, look. No, I appreciate that, Tiffany. It's I share my weirdness. What more can I say? But no, I appreciate your kind words. That does mean a lot.
Erica said, I heard several voices, including a woman, all the time that he was talking. And she had commented that, but I didn't bring it up while your guides were here. But I want to bring it up now.
Well, that's interesting, because there is a woman. Where is she? Yeah, so I've got a picture. Oh, I don't know where it is at the moment, so bear with me. No, I don't know where it is, but yeah, I know that there is a female that works to influence me, and there are several males, as you've probably guessed. So yeah, no, you're right. Two voices, female and a male one. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, look, there may be more that I don't even know about, because sometimes, for example, when I sit in the cabinet for Fizz, there are certain members of my team that will speak through me only when I sit in the cabinet.
Oh, really?
You will never hear them when I'm sitting just for trance. So it's like they kind of like not a compare, but let's use that analogy. So they're like a compare, and he will present himself and say, this is what we want to do tonight. This is what we want to do. You know, turn off the music, turn the light on, turn it off, do whatever. So he kind of like wants to come forward and say stuff. So there are kind of different guides, sometimes to answer certain questions if the topic is particular. But I find, to be honest, most of my guides seem to be there at the same time, but one will be closer than the rest, and that's why you hear a particular guide. But you would have noticed them swapping. Sometimes a different guide stepped forward to answer a question.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's
So
that?
about the cabinet. So I've never sat in the cabinet yet.
Yeah.
And I know some trance mediums do and some don't. Is that something that you highly recommend? And why, please?
Okay, so a cabinet is for physical mediumship. So the long and short answer is it's not needed for trance. Full stop.
Okay.
But what the cabinet does, the cabinet's purpose is to contain the energy. So if you kind of think about it logically, if I'm sitting in a room that's 10 meters square, that energy is dissipated into a 10-meter square space. So for the purpose of physical mediumship, the more condensed it is, the more that my team have to work with. But the same issue would then come about if you were doing it for trance. So if you're enclosing that energy around you and concentrating it, then I guess in theory, but it's still mental mediumship, in theory, you may have a better connection, but to be honest, it's not needed. The reason I have it here is because sometimes I'm doing trance, sometimes I'm doing regular mental mediumship, and sometimes I'm sitting for Fizz. So that's why it's in this room is a seance room that I have. So I only ever do spirit work in here. So yeah.
Thank you for that.
That doesn't answer your question, does it?
No, it does. It does. I'm just have other questions too, and I'm like, do I selfishly ask another question, or do I go to the chat? But I'm going to do this. I'm going to have another question for you regarding doing readings. So, like, so you're obviously a mental medium as well, and you can connect with past loved ones for people. Do you also do this in trance? Do your guides? Do you do readings in trance for people, or do you do your mental mediumship?
So sometimes I will. Sometimes it'd be a case that if we're doing a like an assessment, like a spiritual assessment, and we're looking at aspects to develop and stuff like that, sometimes I will feel that influence of my team, and I'll say, is it all right if my team speak? Because I'll feel that they really want to impress something upon, to the person. But to be honest, I keep those things separate. When I'm working with trance and philosophy or inspired speaking, that is one thing. If we're doing an assessment, this is me connecting to the team and we work together. So yeah, it has happened, but it's not something that I would do as a rule, because it's not needed. I can make that connection, mind to mind, with loved ones. And to be honest, if you didn't hear your loved one in the voice that you remember, I think that would probably distract you more than the evidence that was coming forward, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
But in the trance classes, I'm now going to kind of contradict myself. But in the trance classes, one of the skills that we do work on is going into trance, and for example, I would then say, rather than, oh, I have your mother here and she wishes to say da 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 to you, and you go, oh yes, I recognize that. It would be that I would go into trance. I would ask your mother to then speak through me and speak directly to you. So it might be that you would close your eyes, for example, let's kind of pretend, and you would then say, do you remember when we went to the beach and I told you not to go into the sea and you ignored me and you ran into the sea, and then I couldn't find you and the lifeguards had to go and find you, da, da, da. And you go, oh, yes, I remember that, or whatever the case may be. So I would be speaking like as your mother, rather than me as the medium saying, your mother is saying that one time you went to the beach and you went into the sea when she said don't. So do you see the difference?
Yes.
So it'd be the mother doing the talking through me, like my
Yes.
guide did, rather than me as a mental medium saying, your mother is saying this, do you understand it? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So yeah, yes and no. It's not something I do. To be honest, just having the time to do it is next to impossible. And, you know, for example, I worked with, I was in a development, on a development workshop, and the tutor had us do that. And so as I went into that connection, and I could feel the gentleman with me, and we were sharing the information, and all of this stuff was, you know, it was evidential in the sense of names that he mentioned, experiences, opinions, and thoughts about life, what was happening for the recipient there and then. And she said, when it came to a close, you know, I kind of looked at her, and there she was with tears coming down her face, and I was like, oh my goodness, what have I done? You know, and she said, oh no, it was great. She said, I understood everything. She said, the only thing is, she said, he was Glaswegian. And if you understand Scottish accents, it is a very, very strong accent. It's difficult to understand sometimes. She said, if you had have actually spoken with his accent, she said, I think I would have ran out of the room screaming. Everything that you were saying, it was like, you know, her partner in spirit. She said it was like he was actually speaking to me. She said, but if you had have sounded like him, that would have almost been the straw that broke the camel's back, because it really would have been just too much for her personally. So, yeah, it is a way. So that would be called trance communication. You know, that's where we're trancing loved ones rather than a guide. So I hope that answers it. I know it's a bit of a long.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thomas is asking, spirit communicates a lot through, sorry about my dog's barking, must be somebody delivering a package. Spirit communicates a lot through feelings. How does that get translated into thoughts and words? Is there a preferred way to do that? And I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, so yeah, Thomas, that is a good question. So spirit communicate a lot through feelings. So obviously when we're talking about the feelings, we're talking about that clairsentience. Now that is your primary sense, I would say. So for example, when I went into trance, Thomas, I feel the love between my guides and me is how I know I can trust them. As they start to get like animated, if they're answering a particular question, it really resonates with them. I can feel their personality, their essence really starting to get a strong hold of me. So it comes through in the character of what is being said. It comes through in the persona and the personality. So I don't know whether it's the easiest way of explaining it to you, Thomas, but you have to be receptive to the way in which your team can work with you. So what we're not doing is having people in nice little neat packages where we're all squares of the same size, the same color, da 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 da. We're not doing that. So if your spirit communicators, Thomas, communicate in such a way that you feel all the information that you need to say to whoever your recipient is, then embrace it. Use the way in which spirit can communicate with you, because you have a style, a method, a technique, all of your own. And there may be similarities between C and between myself, but there's still got to be you involved in that. And there still will be the presence of your team as you're communicating. So I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, then put another question up. So, yeah. Well, you're still muted, don't forget.
Okay, thank you for that.
Has Andrew had any interest in past lives? Well, I don't know. Is the honest answer, Jim? I don't know. I've never explored past lives. I'm not sure. I don't know. I just don't know how I would feel about that. Whether I would, if someone said to me, "Oh, Andrew, you were a, I don't know, a farmer in the 17th century in Belgium," and I would go, "All right, okay, but I'm not now." But so, do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like saying that we have let's say let's use the lotus. So there is 1,000-petaled lotus, and one of those petals is Andrew, and he is a trance medium. He is from the UK, and he is sitting here in front of this computer. But then I move around the lotus, and there is another flower. And it turns out that I was a lady in Peru in the 15th century, I don't know, that was burnt at the stake for witchcraft. And there was another petal that was something else, and so on and so on. So I kind of feel that the whole past life thing, it's interesting, but what does it really bring or add to me and my experience? So I'm just trying to make the best of this life and try not to make so many mistakes rather than worry about past lives. But you can bet your last dollar, Jim, I will be asking my guides that when I go over to Spirit. Right, what have I done? Where has my soul been manifesting over the past couple of 1,000 years? And let's see where it goes. So it's a good question, but I don't have any idea. I've got to be honest.
I have one more question, and then we're going to answer Treva's question, which is an excellent question about your courses. Marco wants from YouTube is asking, Andrew, in average, how long does it take to become a trance medium?
Oh, right. That's like saying how long is a piece of string? I know that sounds like a flippant answer, Marco, but that really is the best way of saying it. Look, here's the things that will affect how quickly you develop, Marco. So there are many students that join the courses, but not all of them progress at the same rate or are as proficient as each other. So that comes down to many things. We've got to talk about having the understanding of how does trance work? How do I actually invoke that state of trust to allow the guide to speak through me? So you have to talk about the technical side of it, understanding. Get over the fear aspect. Fear is a massive, massive hurdle. So until you get over this fear of speaking, fear of being judged, fear that the words are my own words, fear that the guide won't say anything, fear that if they do say something, it might not be wise sounding. All of those things will hinder your development and your progress if you don't tackle them, if you don't understand why you feel as you do and put techniques into place to get over it. So once you've done that, a trance medium is someone that, if we use this analogy, the two hands are coming together. So here is me, the medium. Here is my guide. Today he's going to be helping me with clairvoyance. He comes together, we make a connection. That's how he works. Tomorrow, this guide and me come together to do healing, a different guide for a different purpose. So when you're going into trance, you are basically getting yourself into a state where you're receptive to the presence of spirit and their influence. Your next question is, what am I going to do with it? So, are you artistic? Do you want to be like a psychic artist? Do you want to be a trance healer? Do you want to be a trance medium to do philosophy? Do you want to be a physical medium? Do you want to do inspired writing? Do you want to do automatic writing? So do you see what I mean? You can start to say that going into trance is to get yourself into a starting point, and then you decide what you want to do with it. I hope that answers your question. It's about dedication, understanding your own energy. I need to say to you then, Marco, how does it feel when it is just you, Marco? When you're not involved in spirit, be aware of your own energy. Understand how you feel when you don't involve spirit. And then when you do bring them close, anything that is different, you know that it is inspired and influenced by your team. So you start to know that it's them that are making you feel maybe heat on one side of your face, or cold, or you feel like you're growing or shrinking. All right. So it takes as long as it takes. And to be honest, there will never become a day where I am not still developing. So you never reach this point where there's a sign that says, congratulations, Marco, you are officially a trance medium. VA. Do you see what I mean? I know I'm being flippant there, but I just want to say that the journey is ongoing. So embrace it, enjoy it, and love it.
Fantastic. answers. Wow. Thank you. Now we have this amazing question. How do we sign up for your course? Now, you actually have 2 courses coming up, right?
Yeah.
A beginner's class and an advanced. I just saw that posted yesterday. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, no, please. Thank you. So there are 2 courses coming up. Now, the first course, well, both courses start on December the 4th. Okay. So the first course is for people that are completely new to trance, people that are novices, and people that are finding their feet, that have got a bit of confidence doing it, but don't want to be pushed too hard because maybe it's early days. So on this particular occasion, in the morning, now we're talking UK times here for anyone that's watching, in the morning from 9 till 12, so it's 3 hours, and there'll be 2 sessions in December, 2 in January and 2 in February, and that is for beginners, novices, and kind of people that are finding their feet. Now, if you are a complete beginner, we take you right to the beginning and we say, look, this is what it is. This is how it works. This is how we connect. This is how to know that it's you. This is how to know that it's spirit, and all of those sort of things. And we do exercises, and you're kind of doing like journeys, and we're connecting to guides, and we're working together. And sometimes I put you in a breakout room on Zoom because it's done via Zoom. So that starts on December the 4th. Now, because there are people that are at very different stages of their journey, there's people I've been working with for a couple of years now in development groups. So I designed a course that will push people much harder. So like trancing loved ones, doing the trance healing, like creative stuff like artwork or inspired, Q&A, like we did earlier. So you're asking guides questions, stuff like that. So we're talking like doing student demonstrations. So the not the guidance, what's the word I'm looking for? So my input is much less in that course, in the sense that I give you more time to do the work and we swap over and stuff like this. So it is much more intense, and it is definitely not suitable for beginners. Now, that is running from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. on December the 4th. And then there's another date in December. I've got them. I can post them up later if we need to. So there's 2 dates in December, January and February. If I need to do another course, that's aimed at beginners for people in the States, whereby it needs to run in the evening because that would be much better time-wise, then obviously maybe keep a look on my Facebook page or my website, and we can, tailor it so that it will be applicable for their students in the States and that, and we can do something like that. So yeah, that's what's coming up there, Trevor. I hope that makes sense to you.
Awesome. I posted the date. I also posted World Time Buddy. If anybody needs to figure out what the time zone is for them, World Time Buddy is a great free site. And I posted, excuse me for just 1 second. Why are they barking at my dog? They're not. They're just playing. Okay, sorry. I thought there were children teasing my dog, and I couldn't handle that. But they were just playing with each other. Okay. Anyway, so we're coming to a close here. This has been absolutely incredible. I posted. So how do you want people to reach you? I posted your Facebook link. Is that the best way for people to get in touch with you? Do you also have an email?
So
they want to.
Yeah. So if you go to andrewcodling.com. Mm-hmm. Then there is a contact section on one of the pages, and that will send an email straight through to me, and you can ask me questions, and we can have a chat that way. You can find me on Facebook, and I believe you put the link there, so people can, send me a friend request, ask me questions, and I can tell you that way. Because there are a couple of other learning opportunities. I do run a couple of circles. So there's a once every 2 weeks, there's a Friday circle, as I call it, and that is for people that want to sit regularly to develop trance. It does involve people having an understanding of trance, so it's not suitable for complete beginners. And we sit for 2 hours every Friday at 7 p.m. UK time. So that's an opportunity. And they're in blocks of 6. So you will meet 6 times every 2 weeks. And if you want to continue, then you just carry on. And if you don't, then you kind of do your own thing and move on. Or like tomorrow, UK time again, 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. That's a regular Saturday circle, just once a month. That's 3 hours for people that want to practice their trance. So there's a few opportunities there. Or lastly, we'll get there. I do offer private one-to-one tuition, and that's what quite a lot of people tend to prefer. So then you are the sole focus of my attention, and we work at a time that's convenient for you. And I've got people from Australia, Japan, States, Canada, Europe, wherever, England, Ireland. So yeah, so you can basically work with me and do some trance whenever it suits. Yeah. So there we go.
Awesome. Yeah. There it is. So we've got your website and we've got your Facebook page, and so they can reach out to you on your website. You've got all kinds of stuff coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a good question here from Trevor. She said, that's interesting. How do you feel when you're not working with spirit? It's something I never really considered. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, there it is. I mean, yeah. So you kind of don't want to be walking around with your head in the clouds, do you? So you need to have time where it was just you doing regular stuff, where it's you doing shopping, just walking the dog. You need to be you. Don't try and live your whole life in the spirit world before you actually get there. Okay, so there needs to be time where you just take chill out time. But part of the process of understanding, people saying, I don't know when I'm connected. The issue is that every time we sit, we close our eyes and we go, oh, I need to connect to spirit. It's almost like it's a drug. I need to connect to them. They need to be with me. They don't need to be with you. They want to. But do not think that there is not a great deal of wisdom in just sitting in awareness of your own energy, to be aware of how you feel. And then when you do invite them in, the difference is going to be like that. You're going to really notice a difference because you're not spending your whole life trying to be connected to them. So it's a really important thing to do. Be kind of wise with your time, I would say.
Because I guess I spent a lot of time in the class. Me too. I used to meditate every day till I started really getting into trance, and now all I want to do is sit for trance. And I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I did it. I made these mistakes. This isn't some of this isn't spirit wisdom. This is you learning all of the terrible mistakes I made, or not the terrible mistakes, all the mistakes I made because I didn't know. So what I'm sharing is like a potted history of all the things I've done wrong. So that's how it works. But
one more question before you go. Would that be all right? Marcos is asking, Andrew, in average, how long does... No, that's not the question. He had another question. Sorry, we already answered that one. This one. Have you ever lost the connection with your guides? How scary was that?
No.
Okay.
Because, I mean, do you mean like while I was in trance, or do I ever feel that my guides have left me?
I think he means in trance, because I wonder that sometimes when I'm sitting.
Oh, right. Okay.
So talk, and then I feel like I'm not getting another word or something, and I'm like, where'd the connection go?
Yeah. So no, to answer that question, Marco, there's yes and no. Now, I wouldn't say that I'd ever lost them so that they were completely gone. You got to remember, in the early days, when you're kind of finding your feet and you're kind of sitting there and you've got your eyes closed, and your guide starts to speak, and he might say, hello, C, da 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 da. It's really lovely to speak to you today. And then I just go, oh, where are they? And it's like you've just kind of lost the connection, and you're thinking, oh, I can't feel them. What's happened is, if you imagine that your consciousness, let's say your consciousness up here is you being really alert, and then as your guide gets a great connection, your consciousness starts to drop and your connection gets stronger. So what's happening is, when they're really connected, they're like this. And then you start to kind of lose your focus and they start to drift away. And then they come back. And then you realize you've lost your focus and they get closer. And then you think, damn it, where have they gone? And they've drifted away again. What's happening is you have lost your focus. You have lost your awareness of them. And you have kind of disconnected. You've pulled out the power lead. And then what you do is, when you notice that happen, let's say my guide was speaking and then I go, where have you gone? What you do is you just say to them, guys, I want you to reconnect with me. And you wait for them to come into your energy field, your auric field. You wait to start to feel the presence of them, feel their influence. And then as you start to do that, you then think, there you are. And you start to feel that they've rejoined you. What's happened is you've lost your attention. And so that is what happens. So it's not scary, Marco. It's just what happens, especially in the early days, because you're kind of finding your feet. And to hold that connection with spirit for, say, an hour or an hour and a half, that takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. You know, that's a long time to allow spirit to be speaking through you. And the connection does go in and out. So I hope that makes sense.
It does to me. I sometimes I'll find myself, okay, your guys earlier said that you don't always agree with what they're saying, but you let it come through anyway. I'm paraphrasing. So I'm wondering, like, sometimes my guys will be saying something, but I find myself thinking about it, and in thinking about what they're saying, I'm like, is that true or whatever? And then I lose my connection with my guides because I'm thinking about what they just said. What would you?
Yeah, because you get nosy, don't you? Because you kind of, it's your nature is to want to think about what is being said. That's just the fact of how it is. So, guys, if that is happening to you, that is normal. Do not worry about it. It is part of that learning process. Yeah, you know, if I had £1 for every time that that had happened to me, then I'd be working for free. So, because that is just kind of how it is. So look, I mean, there's some great questions there. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you for watching.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. You're amazing, Andrew. You're just amazing, and thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.
I just want to give a shout out on the 16th of December. We have Mulata Rice Henke. She is my guest doing a trance demo as well. So be sure to join us on the 16th of December and reach out to Andrew on his website or on Facebook for his classes, his one-on-one tutoring, and I'm going to go feed my dogs now that are all ready for me. But you're amazing. Thank you so much. This has been such a joy. It really has. It's
been an absolute pleasure. See, you've made it a real joy to kind of be with. Great questions from the audience, and I really appreciate it. So, guys, follow, like, subscribe the work that C is doing, and definitely watch on the 16th because I've seen Mulata work. She's a very, very good trance medium. So it really will be wonderful to watch. And absolutely. Thank you for the time. All right.
Thank you. Have a beautiful evening.
Catch you later, guys.